Why did Meta lay you off?
So, to be honest,
Meta sent emails to 11,000 employees telling them they no longer have their jobs.
It has cut 13% of its workforce. This is huge for a company like Meta.
That's tough to comprehend. It's a lot of people.
Tech's tanking a little bit. It's moving on.
Layoffs at Meta and other tech companies across the region are a growing reality with each passing day.
I want to say that I take full responsibility for this decision.
I'm here today in New York City with Omayow, a former software engineer at Meta. And today we are going to be breaking down his background and experiences, the good and the bad, unfortunately. But more importantly, we are going to be showing you how to actually navigate this tough tech market. Whether you've been laid off, whether you can't land a job or an internship, whatever it may be, I hope you're able to derive some insights from this video so you can help your own career going forward. First of all, Omayow, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm freezing.
Yeah, December in New York City, not the best time.
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so not used to this.
All right, so give us a little bit of your background, a little introduction to the audience.
Yeah, totally. My first intro to computer science was actually in high school. So I took AP computer science, and ever since then I've been hooked. I majored in computer science when I went to college. I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, took all my computer science classes, and I actually got to intern at a couple companies, Home Depot in Atlanta, Georgia. Had a great time there. Slack, that was my first high-tech internship in San Francisco, California. Really got to know how high-tech functions. And then coming on my senior year of college, I actually ended up getting a full-time job at Facebook before it became Meta, and I was working on the account linking team. And I was there for about 2.5 years, and unfortunately when the economy took a turn, I was laid off.
Before we dive a little into that story, can you tell us, how did you actually get into Meta? What was your compensation looking like, day-to-day life like? What was like all the perks?
Yeah, so my compensation was a little bit above $200,000 a year. That was stock and salary. In terms of the perks, they're actually really great. The food was insane. They had so many restaurants on the campuses. Menlo Park is known for having some of the best restaurants. My day-to-day work, I would usually take the shuttle to the Menlo Park office because that's where my team was located. I would usually be there for about 6 hours and I would take the shuttle back. In terms of the work that I actually did on my team at Facebook, we worked on improving the account linking system. So when you're using Instagram and Facebook and Messenger, your accounts on all those platforms are linked through the account center. What I worked on was making that user flow as flawless as possible so that you could swap in between apps and things could be shared between those platforms.
Unfortunately, you did end up getting laid off from Meta. Can you tell us what happened, why it happened, and what was the story like?
So about 2.5 years ago, the economy took a turn and Meta laid off almost 15% of the company. So that's a giant amount. And I was included in that group. And this was my first job graduating from college. And the reason they told me why they laid me off is because they overhired during COVID. So it was a very intense feeling because this is something that I've been working for my entire life.
Yeah.
And I wanted my dad to be proud. Like my dad had just passed away and I really wanted it to be something that I could use to support my family. That had all been taken away from me. And I was very sad. For about 1.5 years, I was actually unemployed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you know, I don't think people really understand 15%, like 15 out of every 100 people just like gone from your company, like people that you see every single day, and like they're not told ahead of time. It's just like one day, boom, gone. It's unfortunately the truth that like they were just pumping money into the economy, so they're like, oh, here's an offer, here's an offer, here's an offer. So unfortunately you got laid off. But how did you bounce back from it? What were you doing during this 1.5 year period?
Yeah, so my time after getting laid off from Facebook can be split into two things. One was sort of recalculating my life, right? Up until this point, I had been working or in school. So now that I actually had this break, it gave me time to rethink what I actually wanted to do with my life and where I wanted to work. And so then the second part was rigorous interview prep. And I mean like mock interviews every day, data structures and algorithms, leak code. It was very strategic. And I think that's what actually helped me get a job in the end.
And were there any particular resources, anything that helped you especially during this time?
I'd say my number one resource, and this is not sponsored at all, this is just something I actually use.
Not an ad.
Not an ad, yeah. And it's free, cramp.com. It's a great resource because it allows you to mock interview with people who also want to get a software engineering job. And that's the one thing that's stopping people from actually passing the interviews. Yes, they know how to do data structures. Yes, they know how to study system design, but can you actually do the interview and impress the interviewer? That's key. And I think Cramp was great for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially in tech, they miss what you call like that charisma aspect. And I think focusing a lot on the behavioral interview would help a lot of people out. But What happened after that? So you started doing a lot of interview prep. How did you actually execute? Like, what type of interviews were you getting, and where did you end up landing your job afterwards?
Yeah, so I got interviews at a ton of companies. I was getting interviews from Netflix, Google, Airbnb, Snapchat, TikTok, DoorDash, and honestly, the list goes on.
Wow, that's insane.
So I got offers at TikTok, Snapchat, and Google.
Wow. What did you end up picking, and what was the compensation like?
Yeah, so I ended up picking Snapchat, and the compensation was actually really good. So in total, it was about $363,000.
Wow, that's nearly double that you got at Meta.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was about half stock and half salary. And then for TikTok, the offer was about $300K, and it was a little bit more salary than stock. But in general, I went with Snapchat because it seemed more balanced.
Yeah, nice. And what about Google?
Yeah, Google ended up being pretty low. They tend to lowball people, so it was about $250,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like Google lowballs people. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they don't really give great offers, honestly. Unless you have a lot of competing offers and like the competition isn't stiff. Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you ended up going with Snapchat, right? And here we're actually in the office recording. Yes,
sir.
You guys didn't know. Did you end up negotiating your offer, the $363,000?
yes, I actually did negotiate.
Yeah, what was that process like?
Yeah, it's a great question and something that most people wouldn't know. It started with me first obviously getting the Snapchat offer, and I was actually still interviewing at TikTok. So I didn't have an offer yet that I can negotiate, but I sort of let my recruiter know that I'm about to finish the process and that I would have these two options. And once I had those, then I was able to go back and forth and negotiate the team, the location, the compensation structure.
Yeah. Where did you go from, and what did you end up getting?
Yeah, so I went from originally around $300K for the Snapchat offer, and from negotiating, I got about $360,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like a $60,000 a year pay bump.
Yeah, sometimes just the presence of having another offer, even if you don't mention the numbers, could do you wonders. But if you do have multiple competing offers, that does really pump up the numbers a lot.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's a game changer. You got to, because if you don't, you're losing money.
Yeah, for sure. So as a Snapchat software engineer, what are your perks? What is a day in the life for you?
Yeah, they're great. So I usually wake up around 8 a.m. I live in Brooklyn, actually. I live in Williamsburg, so I have to commute to the office. So I usually commute about 25, 30 minutes. And then when I get here, I have breakfast. We have like nice micro kitchens here, so I have like a nice breakfast. And then I actually work on the activation team. So that has to do with registration and login. So when you log into the Snapchat app, I'm working on that. So you're welcome. In addition to that, I'll usually take meetings in the morning. My team is actually mostly on the West Coast, so I end up having meetings in the afternoon as well. And I'll usually head back to Brooklyn on the train around 5 p.m. and close out the day. And then when I get home, I usually make some dinner, hang out with my girlfriend, and I just call it a day.
Yeah, living the New York software engineering life. I'm jealous. So as a person who's quite literally faced the brutal part of this tech market, what would be your advice for people who are struggling to land a job or have been laid off from a position?
Yeah, I totally sympathize with that. There's so many people looking for jobs and the economy is so stiff right now. For a beginner, I totally recommend building something that actually provides value. I go to work every day on the transit, and I always think there should be like an app that has real-time data that allows me to visualize when the trains come, maybe stoppages along the way. And that's something that everybody could practically use in the city. That's a great idea, and it'd be great to build. And that's actually what recruiters want to see on your resume, because you're providing value. And that's what you do at these big tech companies. That's how they make money.
A lot of people don't realize that projects do serve as like experience before you have like work experience. So building projects and solving real world. Another like big mistake a lot of people make is they're just focused on whatever looks like the hot technology rather than like solving a problem. So it's almost as if they're doing a project just to do a project rather than doing a project to solve a real world problem. And the more impact that you can have, the more you can quantify the impact and metrics that you're doing, that's how you're actually going to get ahead in tech. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a curveball question, but what's one big mistake that engineers make when they're looking for high-paying tech roles, and how can they avoid that?
Yeah, totally. So most people will focus on getting the highest paying job possible, and all of that makes sense. It's more important to get a job that you want to actually do, right? Because if you have a job that you actually want to do, you'll learn a lot, and you'll
The
get
passion will build it.
the
right?
passion will build, and you'll actually get challenged. And after building those skills and solving those challenges, you'll actually be the person that will be able to get those high-paying jobs, and you'll have so many offers down the road. So it doesn't matter if you're young and you want to work in the highest-paying job possible. You just need to learn as much as possible.
Focus on learning rather than earning. Because if you're learning a lot, but maybe you're not earning so much, you're actually investing in your own equity, so you become more valuable. So in the future, you'll be able to demand higher rates. Versus, even if you're making, what, like $300,000, $400,000, and you're pushing one commit maybe every single month and you're just enjoying the perks of big tech, like, you're not getting anywhere. The instant you get laid off, that's the instant your compensation stops, and no one wants to be in that situation. You won't be able to bounce back.
Absolutely. I completely agree with all that.
Yeah. Well, Omayow, thank you so much for being on this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't know already, Omayow is a big-time tech content creator on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. So definitely check out all his pages. The links will be in the description below. And if you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Peace.